Can a band that's been around for over 25 years still make an album that sounds genuinely hungry? One that actually recaptures what made them dangerous in the first place? That's the question I keep coming back to as I listen to the new album, Into Oblivion, the 10th studio album from Lamb of God. And by the end of this video, I'm going to give you my honest answer. Now, before we get into it, I'll give you a little context on where I'm coming from with this band. I've been listening to Lamb of God for about 10 years now. I wouldn't call myself a mega fan. I haven't gone that deep into every corner of their catalog, but I respect what they do and I keep coming back to them. My personal favorite is Ashes of the Wake, and that album hits different. On this channel, I reviewed their last two records, the self-titled from 2020 and Omens from 2022. Both were solid, but neither one really blew me away. So I was curious to see what they'd bring with this one. And also, I have a Lamb of God t-shirt, so you can check that out. But anyway, let's move on. Into Oblivion is the 10th studio album from the American heavy metal band Lamb of God, released on March 13th, 2026 through Century Media and Epic Records. The album runs just under 40 minutes across 10 tracks, lyrically described as a cold historical reckoning, a look at the rapid breakdown of the social contract, particularly here in America. The lineup is the band's long-standing core: Randy Blythe on vocals, Mark Morton and Willie Adler on guitars, John Campbell on bass, and Art Cruz behind the kit. This is actually Cruz's third album with the band since joining back in 2019. And it's fair to say he's really come into his own, especially on this album. Production-wise, the album was handled by Josh Wilbur. Same guy's been producing the records since Wrath in 2009. Recording happened in 3 different spots. Drums were tracked in the band's hometown of Richmond, Virginia. Guitars and bass were laid down at Mark Morton's home studio, and Randy recorded his vocals at Total Access Recording Studios in Redondo Beach, California, a legendary location with deep roots in punk music history, which is a pretty cool piece of trivia. Sonically, this record is being described as a return to the raw, abrasive grit of their mid-2000s peak. It's leaner, it's tighter, and it's meaner. There's less polish, and there's more menace, and honestly, that's exactly what I was hoping for. The album opens with the title track. It absolutely wastes no time. It's a monstrous, groovy thrasher. It sets the tone immediately. Randy Blythe comes in venomously, practically spitting the vocals at you from the first second. Lyrically, it frames the narrator as this unavoidable, dark force, chaos that exists whether you acknowledge it or not. I had already heard this one as a single, so I had spent some time with it before the album dropped. I really liked the complex, technical guitar riffs, and Randy sounds brutal throughout. My one minor note is that there are moments where it leans into this slightly metalcore-ish electronic sound. Not a deal breaker, but worth mentioning. Track 2 is called Parasocial Christ. This is just a wrecking ball. 3 minutes of pure, in-your-face Lamb of God energy. The riffs are some of the heaviest the band has written in years, and the blast beats hit like a night terror alarm going off. Lyrically, it's going after the attention economy and willful self-delusion, which feels very relevant right now. No complaints here. It's an easy addition to any workout playlist. Gives you a burst of energy that you can actually feel in your body. Track 3 is Sepsis, and it functions as a predatory sludge monolith. It builds slowly around the spine-chilling industrial bass line. Randy's vocal delivery here draws comparisons to Nick Cave during his birthday party days, which is a bold swing and it works. The song pays tribute to the Richmond underground scene that shaped the band, and lyrically, Randy is completely unhinged, confrontational in the best way. This was one of my personal favorites because I always appreciate when bands aren't afraid to slow things down and try something different. Sounds like it could be a soundtrack to a modern horror film. Randy genuinely sounds like a psychopath in the best possible way. Track 4 is The Killing Floor. Features some machine gun rhythmic assault and hits you with more venom than you expect. Thematically, it deals with American decay and overseas wars. Includes a Red Caesar Rising motif and framework. Critics have compared it to the atmospheric weight of the band's classic track, Omerta, which is high praise. Another high energy track and another great gym song, and Art Cruz is absolutely proving himself as a worthy successor to Chris Adler. The precision on the drums on this one is razor sharp. Right in the middle of the album is track number 5, El Vacío, and we get a change of pace. It's placed perfectly. El Vacío is this eerily gothic and industrial eulogy for figures like Hunter S. Thompson and Gore's David Brokey, contemplating what they make of the world today. The clean vocals here are noticeably improved, and they contrast beautifully against the grandiose, sludgy chorus riffs. I'm really glad they put this track at the midpoint. It gives you a moment to breathe, sit back, and just absorb the atmosphere before the album kicks back into gear. Track 6 is St. Catherine's Wheel. It's brutalist and cyclical. Riffs on this one are spiraling, and they tighten like a vice. Deals with the erosion of truth and the slow rewiring of human feeling. Sounds appropriately royally pissed off, and there's a phase shifter effect on the guitars. It adds a really nice texture. Randy shifts his vocal approach here in a way that keeps things interesting. It reminded me a lot of the Ashes of the Wake or Sacrament era. If you're a longtime fan, this track is going to feel like coming home. Track 7 is Blunt Force Blues. The single, this is a tribute to the Richmond music scene that shaped the band. It's one of the longer tracks on the record. Just over 4 minutes. The groove here is monstrous and uncompromising. The track ends with a final crescendo that genuinely spits and hisses with real menace. This is peak Lamb of God. I could already picture the wall of death forming when they play this one live. Track 8 is Bully. 3.5 minutes of groove-locked karmic reckoning. Riffs are huge and incorporate bluesy influences into these gruesome, angular shapes. Sounds like it shouldn't work, but it absolutely does. Lyrically, it picks apart the soulless momentum of the corruption and the art of gaming the system. Another strong track has a classic early era Lamb of God feel. Track 9 is 1,000 Years. It was my favorite track in the entire album. I think it's a really good deep cut. It opens with a distorted bass guitar, immediately grabs you. The song settles into a mid-paced groove, has the southern and stoner metal flavors running through it. Randy's vocal performance is exceptional. He goes from quiet to all-out screaming and everything in between. It sounds completely natural. There's even a cowbell in there to enhance the swagger. Also sidesteps into more melodic territory without losing any of its intensity. Everything about this track just clicked for me. The album closes with Devise Destroy. This one is fractured. It has a brutish mid-paced charge. It serves as a summation of everything the record has been saying. Lots of anger. There's frustration. It's about the world tearing itself apart. Randy's vocal performance here is feral and laser focused. What I appreciate about this one is that it opens with an almost cinematic feel before shifting straight ahead into heavy metal. It's a great closer because they chose to end things on one of the heavier moments rather than fade out gently. So back to the opening question, can a band this far into their career still sound genuinely hungry? And my answer is yeah, mostly. Into Oblivion is a solid album. It's a clear improvement over the last 2 records. It's a return to the raw, more abrasive sound. That is what longtime fans have been asking for. And there's a lot of variety here. Keeps the full runtime engaging. Randy's vocal performance in particular stands out. He's using multiple styles throughout it, and it all works. The album has energy, it has personality, has some genuine standout moments. With that said, I do think the album is being slightly overhyped, in some circles at least. I think when you compare it to the 2 records that were good but not great, anything that steps it up is going to be praised heavily. Is Into Oblivion better than recent output? I would say yes, but is it a career-defining record that people will be talking about in 5 years from now? Probably not. It would probably make a top 10 groove metal list at the end of the year. It's a great album to put on and zone out to during a workout or a long drive, but I don't think it's a serious album of the year contender for 2026. But with all that said, I'm giving Into Oblivion a score of 8.5 out of 10. It's recommended for longtime fans and newcomers alike. Just go with it with realistic expectations and let it do its thing. If you want more Lamb of God content, I got my review of the 2022 album Omens. That's going to be on the screen right now. Check it out. Let me know what you think or how you think Into Oblivion stacks up against it. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. It helps with the channel and helps a lot. Subscribe if you're new here and drop your thoughts on Into Oblivion in the comments below. And let me know, did this album live up to the hype for you? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.